Welcome to Soltron. This is the video reviewed for Miniforce Dinoid Rex Kaiser. He's about 12 inches, so he's the same size as the Blue Cop Trinity. He's about twice the size of a leader class figure. The Voyager comes up to about his knee, and he's smaller than Justice Titan. He does come with an enormous box with a window on the front. And then you can see on the side he's got his final D9 combination and then the D6 combination. And then a CGI model of what he looks like. Oh, I think maybe it's not CGI. This does actually look like the toy. He can do basically all of this. And then this is definitely not accurate. The dinosaur mode can definitely not pose this dynamically. Yeah, I guess he could pull off that pose. It's hard to tell. Yeah, I guess that is exactly a one-to-one representation. And then he does come with this set of instructions, which is also gigantic. It has a nice little artwork of him in the cover. And then it's got this nice, basically, mini poster of his final combination. And so far, I haven't bought any of the limbs. I definitely like his feet robots. I probably will buy both of those. I'm not so sure about the pterodactyl. You can't really even see the wings, but it does make his shoulders wider, and it gives him this crown. I'm definitely buying this one because it turns into a chainsaw or a chainsawed arm, which is very cool. And then I'll probably buy this electricity one because I think these two arms, the default arms, are pretty lame. So I think getting the two new ones will be pretty cool, but I'll have to watch reviews and see how those actually look. And then here's a 360 view of his robot mode, and all the reviews I've watched have been just littering a lot of praise on this guy, and I feel the same way. He's just amazing to look at. The proportions are perfect. If there is like one criticism I have is that he's kind of busy looking, but that's kind of the style they just went for this figure, whereas Blue Cop Trinity is a little more simple looking. I think they on purpose wanted him to look just like extra everywhere, a lot of spikes, gold, dozens of different colors on him. He's just very maximalist. And if you look carefully, you might notice there's a pretty severe factory flaw that happened to mine. I'll give you a hint. It's very noticeable on the back. And here's a close-up of the head. It's also pretty busy looking. It's got a lot of spikes. It's got very elaborate crest. And then these little side spikes over here, which are kind of loose. And then this main spike that folds out of the front of the helmet, and then has another little painted detail when it's not folded out. Just so over the top with detail. And then a really weird kind of feature is this, I guess, is not technically his real head. His real head is inside here, which really gives me like Go Geiger vibes, or Gao Geigar vibes, I mean. It's got like this plain looking little face, and that's just like terribly out of scale with his body. It's just very tiny. It just doesn't work. And then you get this helmet, in which it'd be interesting if they let you put this helmet on his default head. It can kind of almost do it, but the faceplate gets in the way. So I guess if you popped off the faceplate, you could actually get his helmet on there. I don't know how you do it. It's like pinned in place. But if you could get this out of the way, you could actually put this helmet on and have him with just his like humanoid face with the helmet, which would be kind of cool. But he's not really meant to do that. But it's really weird that it's in there. I don't know if like in the show he just talks to the human characters with his human face. I don't know. But so the helmet is kind of one of his accessories. His other one is this giant sword that's on his hip, and that just pegs into the holes right here. And you can put on either hip. So you got this interesting looking sword. It's pretty light, which is nice because it helps with the posing. And then it's got, of course, the standard notches on the side so that you can fit it into the hand. I'm guessing the gray section is the front of the sword. So you just get it on the notch, you can close the fingers around it, and there he is with his sword. And you get cool posing with that. You can have him with his sword over his shoulder like it is on the box art. Looks every bit as good as the box art. Just looks amazing. The sword really does add a lot to him, I think. Yeah, he just looks so imposing with this sword. It's a really great accessory. And then he does come with two other accessories, and that's these like gun pods that are on his shoulders. And this is where the factory messed up on mine, because you can actually see both of these gun pods are the same. They're supposed to be mirrored, but I got two of the same one, and these just come right off his shoulders. They're clipped on here, just goes into this little slot here. They come off pretty easily, but you can see both of these on mine, they're exactly the same one, which is not good. So there's not a left and a right, both of mine are the same one, which is very unfortunate. And they do have like a little sliding barrel mechanism. I like to leave those out. And then to transform these into little guns, you can just fold down the ball joint, and then you fold up the handle. It'll do the exact same thing, literally. And then these handles will peg into the hands just like the swords. And with that, it's pretty hard to get into his hands, but you can get the standard like gunslinging pose. You can get him to hold them up like this and walk intimidatingly towards his enemies. Just looks great no matter how you have them posed. It'd be cool if you could cross them over his chest, but his dino head just takes up too much space. Oh, and I forgot to do a size comparison of my previous favorite Dino Miniforce figure. I forget what this guy's called. Something Thunderstorm, something. Which I still think is very stylized and beautiful to look at. But obviously, the new figure just pushes it even further and just looks even cooler. Even though I think this figure is great, his kibble is like a real problem. But I'm still in love with this guy too, though. But this guy is just like so easy to pose. All of his pose, you just get those figures that the joints are just so well designed that all of his poses just make him look extremely cool. You can't really get a bad looking pose with this guy. He's got a ball joint neck. He's got the 360 solid ratchets there. He's got outward clicks here. And then even his shoulder pad moves out of the way a little bit to get a full outward range. He's got a well-designed elbow that gives you more than 90 degrees. He's got bicep swivel. The one thing he doesn't have is he doesn't have wrists, but he does have these individual fingers, except for the thumbs. They don't really straighten out. They've only got one joint each, but it is there. I think it's kind of unnecessary. I wouldn't mind if all the fingers were actually glued together. He does have clicky waist articulation. He does have universal joint. This guard piece on the hip does get in the way. You can move up his hip skirts, of course, to get a full forward kick almost. You can get full, or nope. His backward kick is also hampered because his thighs are so thick. He does have a thigh cut right here for clicking thigh rotation. He does have 90 degrees in the knee right here. And he does have a ratcheted ankle, which also has a forward and backward tilt Well, it has a backward tilt, maybe not forward because this red piece gets in the way. I guess you could kind of cheat it if you move this out of the way. So, yeah, great ankle articulation. Just everything in this guy is just so well designed and effortless. It's just a dream. Like, I just can't believe you can get a toy that's this premium for $120 on G Market. It's just amazing. This is definitely a figure that you'd have to usually pay like $300 for. It's just crazy this thing exists. I just can't imagine that transforming robots will ever be better than this. Anyway, he does not have butterfly joints, but he does have, I forgot, he's got this ab crunch, which is not used for transformation. It's just there as articulation. So another little nice, thoughtful touch. And this guy's just so full of great engineering. But anyway, we'll go ahead and get to the transformation. So the first thing you're going to do is actually, oh yeah, I guess this is an accessory too. I guess this is the gimmick for the season, is you got this coin, so you can just lower the holder and then pull it out. It's in there with some kind of tabs. And it's got a car on one side, a T-Rex on the other side. And then this whole like gold kind of piece is all metal and then plastic on the inside. So it's got a good amount of heft to it. It actually feels like a legitimate coin. So it's pretty impressive. And then with that out of the way, you can pull out this section. The whole head assembly is a Matchbox car basically. So this whole thing, and then you're going to have to remove the helmet too. But this just turns into a car, which is kind of obvious. You just flip up the head and then you click these two pieces in, and then you're going to rotate that to hold it, and then you get basically this Matchbox car. Which reminds me of this old series, which I'll never stop talking about, Earth Granner, which I love. You can see like the difference in the designs. This guy's very simple and anime style, whereas this one is just very full of mechanical details. But this series was also cool because it also had little Matchbox cars that were basically hidden in the chest. Except for these cars had little electronic features. And you can see the size comparison is definitely a little bit off. This car is definitely larger, but it's got a lot of that same styling to it. So that's pretty interesting how they have kind of the same similar kind of ideas. Oh, and before I get too far in the transformation, actually, he does have one kind of fun thing you can do is when you transform this section and just get the arms, basically there's like a little slot right here, and then there's a red tab here, and this just pegs into his waist. So you're going to lose waist articulation when you get to the combination forms, or when you put him into T-Rex form, unless you just unpeg that, which is not that big a deal. This is where the combination joint is, so you have to rotate this to get this kind of sliding joint. And I've seen videos where they take the Dinoid arms and put them on Justice Titan, but you could also get the Justice Titan arms and put them on this guy. So these are the connections, and they just slide down, just like in the original Justice Titan. So if you wanted him to have a helicopter arm, you could, and this actually looks pretty cool. It's a little out of proportion, but it does look very powerful. So this actually doesn't look too terrible, except for the dinosaurs don't really match with these vehicle pieces, but it still looks pretty cool. Oh, and one other thing is you can have this T-Rex coin inserted into his back, and that can stay in there for the T-Rex mode too. You just cover it with these arms back here. And then you pull out the T-Rex head. And then this little crest piece is just going to fold back and become part of the neck now. And then you got this giant hole in the T-Rex head. So that's where you're gonna use this helmet. And this is just going to peg in here. It's like an extra step that I don't particularly care about. I would have preferred that that be worked in with the car mode. And then you lift up the whole neck assembly. So now he gets a little bit taller. You rotate these chest panels in, and then you can unlock his little T-Rex arms. So he's becoming basically a giant kaiju Godzilla kind of thing. And then he's got these double joints on the hips, which go like this, and then you fold in his heels, rotate his toes around. And this is part that was not engineered very well, surprisingly. And you just rotate his whole shin around, and then you're going to point the toes as much as possible. They'll click into place a little bit. And then his feet are on ball joints here. But this becomes like the dinosaur heel, which is extremely ugly. Like they should have definitely had this fold up in some kind of way because it's just there. And then you bend the knee just to give him more of a T-Rex kind of look. And then you'll basically have this kaiju looking thing. And you can see these giant ugly heels that I was talking about. And then you're going to take his guns, and there's a peg here and here. This peg goes into his wrist, and this peg goes into his open hand. So you just slide that into place. And then you retract the gun barrel, and then the sword has this one peg right here, and that's just going to peg into this hole right here on the gun. And that's basically his tail assembly. You can have it drag on the ground. You can lean him forward more like a traditional T-Rex. Like I said, my guns are messed up, so my other one thankfully can still fit into place. It just can't use this peg right there. So here's how my other one has to peg in. So it's a problem, but hopefully if I email Gmarket, they'll just get me a replacement. And then you can use that ab crunch in addition to folding his hips closer forward, and you can get more like a T-Rex kind of running pose. And then here he is with his tiny little Matchbox car for making the head. I don't know. I guess that's in there just for tradition's sake. It's kind of pointless to me why they didn't just work the head into this figure, but there it is. I have to admit the T-Rex mode is kind of ugly. You kind of just put up with it because the robot mode is so gorgeous, but this is definitely a Power Rangers looking kind of T-Rex. You can tell it turns into a robot. You're not going to be fooled by this thing. It doesn't look good on its own. He does have an opening mouth. He does have a ball joint here, which gives him a little bit of range of motion, but not much. He does have that transformation joint to move his head up and down. And he does have a good amount of downward looking, and his arms are on ball joints, but you're not going to get much out of them. And they do have this little elbow joint, but who cares? It's very pointless. And then he's got the regular leg articulation, and you can, because this is just on a peg, you can like hinge it up and down, but there's not much you can really do with it. It's not going to look that good. And you could use the waist, but it's kind of pointless. So yeah, he definitely doesn't look as good as his box art, where he's like looking over the shoulder. That's 100% a lie. He cannot do that at all. And he's kind of nicely proportioned here. He's got a giant head and smaller legs. That's not how he looks. That's definitely just a complete lie. So you're not going to get that, but his robot mode is so good, and the combinations in the future, look like they're going to be very promising. So you kind of just forgive all that for how good he is. But I got mine on G Market. He was $120 after shipping, which I think is a reasonable price for something that's this premium. Yeah, I highly recommend it. So I'll also be listing some more robots. So check out my links, and I'll see you in the next one.